by saying congratulations on the film. I had the opportunity to sit down and watch it in a cinema full of people a couple of weeks ago, and it is absolutely amazing. It's such a beautiful film, so congratulations.
Oh, so lovely of you to say that. Really, because when you're making a film, you have no idea what it's going to turn out. And then when you watch your first cut of your own film, there's nothing worse than a director watching his own first cut of a film. You walk away and said, oh my God, why did anybody even allow me to be a director? then you start feeding off other people and you look, and then so finally when people like you say it's a wonderful film, it feels so good. Thank you.
So do you still get really nervous when your film is about to be released to the public, or do you get excited that people out there are about to watch a piece of your work?
Let me give you a secret. Every day that I've ever shot, every day I walk into the set in a state of panic. Now, even if I sometimes feel I deliberately do it to myself, because I believe that I plan so much when I make a film, and then I have to let that go, because I have to let the moment take over, because the moment will tell you so many things. So I often have questioned myself, is the panic something I'm creating, or is the panic real? But it's there.
Do you think you need that panic?
Till I start setting.
Do you think you need that panic to function as a director? Because you talk to some sports people and they say that they know that their career is over the day that they don't feel nervous when they walk out onto the field. Do you think you need that panic?
I need that panic. I definitely need it. But for me, it's a double-sided thing. It's not like an athlete that needs the panic to just do their best. I need to hide my panic. I'm dealing with lots of money of people. There's 200 people on my set. I need for them to feel that I'm completely calm and completely in control, but inside me be in absolute turmoil.
Yeah.
No wonder we all die young.
Yeah, you're talking.
Schizophrenic people.
You were talking about making moments. What was that moment like when you first read the screenplay for this film? Because it's so different from the other romantic comedies that we've had released in the past. What was your first reaction when you read the screenplay for this film?
Well, I didn't even think about it as a romantic comedy. The word came in later.
Yep.
I thought about it as a really interesting film about modern times. I thought about it basically, the reason I wanted to do the film was the character of Zoe. Representation of the young people caught in a trap because of social media, because of a million other things, trying to understand what intimacy means, trying to understand if they can form intimate relationships. But on the other hand, having a facility that young people have never had before by dating apps like Tinder, and no morality attached to it. Previously there was a lot of morality. Oh my God, you're loose. It doesn't. There's no morality to attach to casual sex, to frequent sex. Everybody says it's fine. So if it's fine, now what's the issue? That was, to me, is very interesting. Are you now going to be able to form intimate relationships? Because the need for intimacy is a very primary human need. It's there when you're born. By the time the baby comes out of the mother's chest, it's an intimate moment that you will never forget, and it lives you. You go through your life with searching for intimacy. We call it searching for love, and so that for me was a primary reason that I want to do the film, to see how this girl lands up where she does land up and what's her journey. So Zoe's journey was the reason I want to do the film. That's the reason, yeah.
Yeah. The other big part of this film as well is looking at assisted marriage. What were your thoughts on exploring that in a film when you first started to sit down and work on this film? Because it's something that is quite often misunderstood by Western culture. Was that important for you as well when you first sat down, that was looked at in an appropriate way in the film?
Well, because it wasn't an imposition upon me to look at it in an appropriate way. I just assumed that the world understands, well, whichever way you call it, assisted marriage or arranged marriage, because where in the world doesn't it not happen? My big fat Greek wedding has shades of that.
Yep.
Italian weddings have that. Greek weddings have that. South America, and Spain, Singaporeans, Japanese. I don't know that much about the culture, but I know about how desperate looking for the right bride for your son or the right groom for your daughter in China is.
Yep.
And they have these women that go around. The matchmaker, look, something like the matchmaker has been in our culture for ages. Every society has that. So to me, it was just that somewhere people have associated forceful ideas on arranged marriages and made something fearful about it. I didn't carry that fear, so it didn't. That idea that I must break that fear in people and show them that it's not arranged, it's assisted, and there's still a lot of freedom in it. It's not something that I went out to do. It's just something that happened, in the course of telling the story.
I think the other thing that you break with this as well is the thoughts that a lot of people have on Pakistan. Of course, being from Australia, all we really have known about Pakistan for the last 20 years is that apparently it's a fearsome place that our cricket team can't tour to. But your film shows Pakistan in a very, very different light. I wanted to talk to you about that. What was that like for you being able to almost make this film a love letter to Pakistan?
Well, I was born in Pakistan.
Yep.
And I went back to Pakistan a few times because I did a film called Bandit Queen in which Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan did the music, so I would go to Lahore to do the music. And I'm Punjabi, and most of the people in Lahore are Punjabi, so our culture is very similar. Very similar. So I know that there is this idea of Pakistan that has been created by Western media, but media and by what's going on in the world right now. But for people, individual people as they exist, or families as they exist, it's exactly the same. We have the same. Well, the moment you look at families, the moment you look at individuals, you come away from this idea of a nation that in turmoil. You come away from that immediately, so you don't have to address that.
Yep.
It's not a political film that way. It's a film about people,
exactly.
About ordinary, everyday families.
So, talking about the people, tell us a little bit about the casting, because I feel that you got the casting 100% with this film. Tell us a little bit about that process, and did you have people in mind when you first read the screenplay?
Well, I had Emma Thompson in mind immediately when I read the screenplay, and I had Shabana Azmi in mind because I worked with her before. Lily came to me later as I started to talk to her. I knew about her, but I knew that she was prime candidate to play the part. All it was to get her to do it and agree with it. Shehzad was based on one audition that I did out of hundreds that I looked at. Was the fact that he looked completely up. If Lily was, as I told her, that her character was in my visual imagery, she was in a tumble dryer. The character lived in a tumble dryer.
Yeah.
And on the other side, Shehzad, when I auditioned him, he looked like he knew what he was doing. He knew about life. There was a certain stillness to him, as against from being a tumble dryer. There was a certain stillness in Shehzad. There was a certain idea that he seemed to know what life is all about. He had that illusion around himself. So I said, well, that's interesting. That's why I took Shehzad, but I did not know him earlier. And so I tried to play them against each other, a man who knows and a girl who has no idea. And ultimately, he realizes that all his firmness disappears. He realizes even he doesn't know. And that was the great statement that I wanted to make in this film, is that nobody knows. Love is a yearning. Love is a mystery. Romance is a mystery. And ultimately, you keep working at love, it's relationships. The idea that, because what romantic comedies normally do is at the end of it, you run to the railway station, you run to the train or the airplane, you meet each other and you kiss and you say, now the film ends, they lived happily ever after. It's not how life works. You don't live happily ever after. You live in a way where you're constantly discovering each other.
Yeah.
What is love except that, if I'm in love with somebody, I must give the facility to the other person to reflect me. So to say that I've already fallen in love and discovered the other person is saying I've discovered myself. And that means that I'm static. You mean I'm not going to grow anymore?
Yep.
Then I have to allow the facility to grow to the other person also. So it's a continuing yearning, continuous process. Romance is a yearning, not a full stop.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned there about Zoe as a character, like she's in a tumble dryer. What was that process like working with Lily to get Zoe into that kind of way that you saw the character yourself?
Don't have to work that hard. What I do is I do a lot of rehearsals with my actors.
Yep.
And the very purpose of rehearsals on an individual basis and with each other, the purpose is for them to achieve a certain comfort with the character and to find that character in themselves. Now, I understand. I'm not arrogant enough to believe that as I imagine the character, so she will be. No, she finds the character in herself, and then I give all my actors a space to discover who the characters are and what their relationships are within the film. If I didn't do that, they would not be real.
Yeah.
The reality comes from giving space to actors to discover, and so I would not say that, oh, now, Kat's done exactly as I wanted Emma to do, or Zoe's done exactly what I wanted. So somewhere, all I do is I define the banks of the river. They're the ones that give depth to the river.
Yep, definitely, yeah. So with Emma, you said that you wanted to work with her again. She stole the scene in so many of the scenes in this film. People were roaring with laughter at her antics throughout the film. What is it about Emma that you like working with her for? Like, is there something about her that really stands out?
Well, it's her interpretation. She worked on her own costumes. She and Shabana became best friends during the filming. And she assumed the part on her own. And she's so bright. She knows exactly how far to go and no further. And it's such a pity because, when you edit a film down, we had to edit a lot of Emma, of her, suddenly, just saying words suddenly coming out, and we were all laughing. And we had to hide behind the camera and let her loose a little bit, letting Emma loose, because she had discovered the character so much to herself. That was the big pleasure. She discovered it. It's not me saying, say it like that, do it, don't do that. She discovered it and allowed herself to flow. And I allowed my actors to flow. That was amazing. She was, I think for us in the film, for me, she was the weapon that came in every now and again when it was getting too dramatic.
Yep.
Emma would come in and say something really funny. That was amazing.
Now, I know we are running out of time very quickly. We've only got 1 minute left, so I just wanted to finish off the interview again by saying congratulations on such a fantastic film, but what would you like to say to audiences out there before they go and see the film when it opens this week?
To see a rom-com, go away with tears in your eyes and go hug each other and say, what is love all about? I'm not telling you love is about this. Go discover it. But long time since we all hugged each other.